Today I'd like to look at the game by Magnus Carlsen that he played about 10 years ago. It's a pretty interesting game, but before I do that, I'd like to talk about a couple of other things. One is, well, this game is from my book that I just released about the becoming World Chess Championship. It's one of the puzzles from the book. The other thing is I'm using a new version of Chess X for making this video, and it's a free database. As I said, it just got the new version. It's got an active development community, so you can look at the mailing list and kind of see what features are coming in soon. So it's using this kind of software has a few advantages over using a database that you buy, and you get features once a year if you upgrade and so on. Here it's a bit more flexible, I guess, but it also relies on the will of developers. And the new version is 1.0, and 1.0 is it sounds just the first one, but it's really been iterated on for a while now. I've been using it for a while, and this version looks very nice. It's got the opening tree, it's got quite a few other nice features. I'm still getting used to it. It seems like the UI has quite improved, so let's just use it now. So this is a game by Carlsen that he played against Andriasian in 2003 at the World Youth Championship, I guess. Carlsen is playing with the white pieces, and this is a well-known line of the Slav. So here, as we can see in the tree, the main line is knight e5 or e3. It's played pretty frequently, but knight h4 is also possible, and it in fact may transpose like it does in this game. White tries to get rid of black's bishops, and black hopes that even though he got rid of the bishop, like he lost the bishop, he should be fine because the pawn from f5 will exert important pressure on e4, which is a key square in this line. Basically, white has to play e3 here to regain the pawn without losing it. By playing e3, he shuts down this bishop on c1, and well, that means that eventually he will want to play pawn to e4 or somehow free up this bishop, because otherwise there's no easy way of freeing up that bishop, and that's important. And that means that the pawn on f5 here is playing an important role, and if black manages to contain these light squares, the fact that he's down, in terms of bishops, that he's got to face two bishops that white has, it may be okay for black. That's his hope. So for now he tries to just develop pieces. Bishop b4 is definitely another option here. So white now, instead of immediately finishing development, he tries to play for the key features of the position, which are trying to free up this bishop on c1 somehow. And that can be done by either e4 or by playing first h3 and g4 and then playing e4 once that pawn is gone from f5. So that's Carlsen's plan. For now f5 is attacked, so black defends it. As we can see in the tree, somebody else here had played queen to a5 last year, in 2010. But now we're kind of in the new territory, well, which means that something that this position has not been played in the database that I'm loading right now. So at this point I might as well pretty much close the opening tree. It's useless now. So h3, h5, trying to stop g4, which makes sense. So now that Carlsen kind of weakened black's position here by forcing him to play g6 and h5, he has to finish development because well, you have to finish development in chess. So now he plans a slightly different plan. Instead of just castling short side, it now makes sense that queen f3 and bishop d2 are actually preparing a long castle. And even though white's position is somewhat weakened here on the queen side, that will be okay, because white has a strong center, good development. He's not afraid. Black is ready to start his play with b5, so Carlsen does not waste time and start his. Now that his king is out of the center, he's not afraid to even sacrifice a pawn or two on the king side. And that's what that is. That's a pawn sacrifice, right? And I mean, there is no easy way about it, right? If black takes with the knight, I don't know, it looks really scary too, because basically after something like this, it's going to be very difficult for black to contain position. And if we want to, we can check with the engine, right? Like, we can look at this position, and it basically shows it's unclear, right? And by the way, the engine comes with a chessx. So after a little bit of thinking, the engine shows that black's position is not as good as it could be, even though he's up a pawn. Even then, the engine, you know, evaluates the position as actually slightly worse for black. And the more he thinks, the more he likes it for white. And say, just like something naive, let's try this, queen f6. Just the first thing that comes to my mind. What could be possibly wrong with that? Well, a lot of things apparently. So apparently it loses immediately some material back due to. So now if we take with this guy, it turns out that now, because of the pin on this diagonal, now that the bishop is alive, if the knight retreats, we go down. So the opening of files matters even after the queens have been exchanged. So after queen f6, and what if he takes with this knight? Well, same deal. So now it makes sense why he takes with a pawn, right? With a little bit of analysis and thinking, we can justify what already makes sense logically. So now black breaks through, and I'll just stop the engine for now. So now black breaks through on the queen side, but it's a little too late, and he doesn't really break through. That is the problem. So he continues the policy of exchanging. Of trying to open up files. And Carlsen in advance removes the knight from this file, because otherwise it might get kicked by b4 or something like that. So now white has two bishops against two knights, and here we see the power of the two bishops. It's interesting that when Carlsen takes, for some reason black does not recapture. Now I'd be curious why. And the answer is probably, well, his position is already bad. It's already quite bad. No matter what he does, I mean, say he takes with the queen. Well, it turns out that white just comes a little bit quicker than black. So let's see, takes. Now, of course, bad to take because of this mate. But what if he takes here? Like, we'll just have to see how the complications play out. And it turns out that the complications play out pretty funny, because there's this tactical idea of rook f7 now. And it's a bit hard to explain why this works, but it does, because now suddenly this rook is hanging here, and just this bishop that has been sitting here for a while, it now comes to life. So that's why he kind of tries to protect f7 and that knight. So now the bishop still comes to c3. Black tries to, well, he hopes to capture with the rook. And now white starts a combination. He takes on d7. Black takes here. White retreats, b4. And now white plays a really brilliant move, after which the game is immediately over. You can pause the video here and think for a few seconds. Stop the engine. Well, the move is this. And it's brilliant because everything's hanging. The rook, the queen, but black cannot avoid mate. Now, if he takes here, then there's mate, and if he doesn't, then white wants to take on g6.